Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for joining the Planning and Zoning Board. I'd like to ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag is right there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. My name is Patrick McTeague. I'm the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Board. I'd like to introduce my fellow board members. From my left, we have Mr. Hector Dela Torres, Mr. Alexander Spence, Ms. Jacqueline Scott, Vice Chair Brian Donaldson. On my right, we have Mr. Whitney Dutton, Kevin Buckley, and from city staff this evening, can we turn my mic down just a hair? Seems I'm hearing too much on myself. There he is. Okay, so soon to join me on my right is Mr. Steve Gannon. From city staff, we have the Deputy City Attorney, Mr. Dwayne Spence, and the Urban Design and Planning Manager, Mr. Jim Hensel. Mr. Hensel, if you could please introduce the fellow staff here this evening.
Sure. Good evening. To my left is Carlan Devenish, Michael Ferreira, and Yvonne Bredding, who just stepped away for a minute.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you all again for joining us. We'll jump right into it with case number 1, which is UDP, or actually I need to approve the minutes from last meeting. Were there any comments or amendments, or do we have a motion to approve?
I make the motion to approve.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, very good. So back to number 1, case UDP S25001, and the applicant has requested a deferral. Would you like to speak, Ms. Crush? Sure, just briefly.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, board members. Courtney Crush on behalf of the applicant. We have requested a 90-day deferral, or are requesting a 90-day deferral from this board. As the board recalls, we've been working with our neighbors, all of our neighbors, and one in particular, and have agreed, and they have agreed to support a modified tower design. And so we've met with city staff, and we will need to amend our DRC application, put those revised plans in, have staff review them, and return to you at your June meeting if you would so consider that. We appreciate it. We've been working very, very hard.
Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant? Otherwise,
I just want to say I'm really glad that you guys are working it out. We love when people work together and don't bring the problem to us. So I move to approve the deferral to the June meeting, which is the date, the 14th?
yes, the date certain of June 17th,
17. I make that motion.
2026.
Second.
Mr. Donaldson. And then we can do it, a voice call. Want to do roll? Go ahead. Okay.
Mr. Dela Torres,
Yes.
Mr. Spence,
Yes.
Mr. Dutton,
Yes.
Mr. Buckley,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Gannon,
Yes.
Mr. Donaldson,
Yes.
Chair Matee,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Case number 2, UDP A25070. Thank you. Disclosures. I'll start with Mr. Dela Torres.
None.
Mr. Spence.
I received the call from the agent.
Ms. Scott.
Yes, I spoke to the applicant's attorney and drove through the area.
Mr. Donaldson.
Site visit and conversation with the applicant's attorney.
Mr. Dutton.
Site visit.
Mr. Buckley.
Conversation with the applicant's attorney.
Mr. Gannon.
Site visit and phone call with the applicant's attorney.
Okay, I had a phone call from applicant's attorney. I also did a site visit.
Chair,
Yes.
would you like to swear in members of the public that are going to speak?
Yes, this evening, meaning you'll swear in everybody who's going to
Sure,
speak
we
this
can- we
evening,
can-
not
we-
just on this application.
We can
correct?
do that as well.
Okay.
Members of the public, if you are planning to speak on any of the quasi-judicial matters tonight, I ask that you stand at this time to be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. When you approach the dais, please state your name and address for the record and whether or not you have been sworn.
Good evening, Nectaria Chakas with the firm Lockery and Chakas on behalf of the applicant, Bain Properties Times Square. They are the owners of the new Soho Kitchen that we're hoping to open as a restaurant. It's currently approved by the city as a takeout only, which is parked at one space per 250 square feet. This is in the Plaza 3000 building or a shopping center. It's the area where, if you all are familiar with it, some of you I know have done a site visit, but it's where the Mason Jar is, and there's some other restaurants and offices. It's a really nice, eclectic shopping center. It was most of the buildings, from what I can see, were built sometime in the late 50s, early 60s, and then over the years they've been remodeled, and Bain Properties purchased this particular bay. It's Bay 13 at 3020 North Federal Highway. It's actually fronting Middle River Drive, but they purchased that with the intention of putting in a takeout restaurant, and then it's 1,100 square feet, so it's a small space. And then they wanted to put some tables and chairs, and whenever you want to put some tables and chairs in a place that has been approved as takeout only, you then trigger having to meet the restaurant parking requirements. And in this case, having to meet those restaurant parking requirements triggers an additional 7 spaces that they have to come up with. And unfortunately, this is an area that is already developed. The parking is shared by a lot of the other bay owners. And so under the city's code, you're allowed to request a parking reduction and base that parking reduction on certain criteria. And in this case, one of the criteria that we can use is that there is publicly available parking within 700 feet of the establishment. And in this case, there's plenty of public parking within this area. Our traffic engineer conducted parking counts. And this is just a photo of the establishment. It used to be a Pilates studio a while back. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but then it's takeout only, and then now changing to restaurant. So the areas that were studied for the 700-foot radius parking, publicly available parking, were zones A, B, and C that you see on this particular aerial. It was determined that based on those counts that there is more than enough parking at the highest peak, and this is adjusted for seasonal parking because the study was done in August, so they increased the parking. They added a factor to it to account for seasonal parking, and they adjusted it upward. And even with that adjustment, there's 29 surplus parking spaces in this area, and as a result, there's more than enough parking for this particular use. And that's 29 parking spaces subtracting out the 7 spaces that we need. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. We did present this to the Plaza 3000 Association, which is the association that runs and owns the parking area for the shopping center. They are in support of it. And then we also presented this to the Coral Ridge Civic Association. They are also in support of it. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the applicant? Yes,
Nick?
ma'am. Go ahead, Ms. Scott.
Victoria, did the association give you a letter of support?
Yeah, it's this one.
Oh, okay, good.
Coral Ridge Civic Association.
I got you.
And then
That's
this
all I
one's
need.
Plaza 3000.
Thanks, honey.
Other
You're welcome.
questions for the applicant? Okay. Seeing none, I open it up to the public. Is there anybody here from the public wishing to speak on this item? Okay. Seeing none, I close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for discussion and a vote or a motion.
I guess I'll make a motion.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Scott.
Let's see, I move to adopt the resolution approving the site plan level 3 case number UDP-A25070 based on the findings of fact, the facts in the city staff report, and the testimony heard by the applicant. And the board hereby finds that the application meets the standards and requirements in the ULDR and criteria for the proposed use as cited in the resolution.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Mr. Donaldson? Very good.
A resolution of the Planning and Zoning Board of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, approving the issuance of a site plan level 3 development permit for a parking reduction for the property located at 3020 North Federal Highway Unit 13, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and the Boulevard Business B1 District, case number UDP A25070, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. We're ready.
Mr. De La Torres,
Yes.
Mr. Spence,
Yes.
Mr. Dutton,
Yes.
Mr. Buckley,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Gannon,
Yes.
Mr. Donaldson,
Yes.
Chairman Teague.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. Move right along to case number 3, which is UDP S25049. Disclosures. Mr. De La Torres.
None.
Mr. Spence.
No.
Mrs. Scott.
Spoke to the applicant's attorney.
Mr. Donaldson.
Voted on the last approval of this, did site visits and talked to the applicant's attorney and various members of adjacent condominiums.
Very good. Mr. Dutton. Disclosures.
Just a site visit.
Mr. Buckley.
Site visit on a daily basis, and I've spoke to the applicant's attorney.
Mr. Gannon.
No new disclosures other than the last time this was here, other than spoke with the applicant's attorney over the phone.
I had a phone call from the applicant's attorney, and I also did another site visit. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, Nectaria Chakas again for the applicant, Sunrise FTL Ventures, LLP, sorry. We're before you this evening on an amendment to a site plan with an associated parking reduction. This is a plan that has come in front of you. This will be the third time it's come in front of the Planning and Zoning Board, and I know some of you were not on the board the first time that this was approved back in 2022, but many of you were on the board back in 2024 when we got the last site plan approved. The site is about 1.25 acres in size. It is zoned SLA, so it's in the Sunrise Lane area zoning district in the Central Beach area. And to the north of us, let me back up for a second. This used to be the site of the Franco and Vinny's restaurant. So those of you who've frequented that restaurant, everyone knows it as the old Franco and Vinny's site. So this is where that was, and along with some scooter rental places and massage parlors and some other restaurants. So those uses have been demolished. They were demolished in 2025 because as they were vacated, there were some issues with vagrants and people loitering on the site, and so the owners took it upon themselves to go ahead and demolish that site. So the aerial that you see here is pre-demolition. As I said, it's in the Sunrise Lane zoning district. It is immediately adjacent to the Sunrise East condo, which is located immediately to our west. And then on the east side, we have a 7-Eleven they tried to acquire, but 7-Eleven won't sell it. Apparently it's corporate owned and one of their best grossing stores in the country, which I guess I could believe that, given its location. But they did try to acquire that so that they could get the entire block. They were unsuccessful, so that part still remains, and we've tried to work around being near the 7-Eleven. And then to the east of that is the Carlton Tower. We have letters of support from Carlton Tower, Sunrise East, Coconut Bay, and Lake Club. Back in 2022, there was a proposal. I do need to go back a little bit in history so that you can understand how we got here. 2022, there was an approval for 2 towers. They were both 12 stories in height, and they had 54 residential units and 100 hotel rooms. And then they also had about 4,700 square feet of commercial uses. In 2024, the developer then amended that plan to change it to just 1 tower that was 14 stories and then brought the parking into a parking garage. Previously, they were planning on doing all this underground parking. It proved to be extremely cost prohibitive, and so they brought the parking garage out of the ground, and that's the plan that was approved in 2024. It was approved with 76 residential units. They cut out the hotel component. And when they went to sales, the sales weren't as they expected. So they came back to the drawing board, took the feedback that they got from their sales team, and are now proposing the plan that you see in yellow, which is in the third column, and that is 88 dwelling units, multifamily dwelling units, 113 hotel rooms, and 1,800 square feet of ground floor commercial uses that are really in the form of, a grab and go that you would see in a hotel, something that people, coffee that people can grab. That's why they call it the grab and go. But that's the plan today, and they've managed to include all of those uses within the existing building that was approved back in 2024. How did they do that? They essentially shrunk down a lot of the unit sizes because some of the feedback that they got from prospective purchasers was that the units were too big. They didn't really need units that big. They were ranging, the smallest unit I believe was around 1,100, 1,200 square feet previously. And people just wanted a little vacation, a second home. And so they took that feedback and went back to the hotel and condominium concept. This is the ground floor. Again, it remains unchanged from what was previously approved. So you have on the right-hand side the tower, the 14-story tower, and then on the left-hand side of the screen you have the parking garage. The parking garage is 4 levels of parking, and then at the very top level, which is the 5th level, they have an amenity deck area, which has a fitness room and some outdoor lounge areas. So the overall building on the left-hand side that used to be originally 12 stories is now 5 stories, 4 stories of parking, 1 story of recreation. And then the motor court, which is where all the cars come in and out, is along Northeast 9th Court. In addition, we've also placed parking, parallel parking along the adjacent to the development, and that parking we're hoping will be reserved for our neighbors, Sunrise East condominium. We're working on that with them, but we're going to go ahead and construct it. We'll be maintaining it, and that parking has been accommodated on that street. The area in yellow that you see is that on the right-hand side, which is where the hotel and residential units are. That's the little grab and go. So it's fronting Sunrise Boulevard, and it has a nice little patio area. It opens up to Sunrise Boulevard, and I have a rendering of how that looks. It's a lot better than what was previously approved because it does activate the street a lot more, and as people are walking by, there will probably be some site furnishings and things like that. This is the roof plan. So this is now a bird's eye view of what the development looks like. Again, very similar to what was previously approved. On the right-hand side of this screen, you have the hotel and the residential tower, 14 stories. On the top of that is a pool and some lounge areas, and then the mechanical equipment. On the left-hand side of the screen is the parking garage. So now you see the top of the parking garage, which is another amenity deck. So that's where the fitness area and a fitness room is going to be. And then they also have some lounge areas. The previous plan, some of you might remember, had pickleball courts planned for the rooftop. Those were not something that purchasers seemed excited about. So they eliminated them from this plan, which I think, there's a love-hate relationship with pickleball, right? Some people love it, some people hate it. So, I think overall people are probably happy that it's gone because you never know what kind of noise you're going to get. So they've been eliminated. That plan has been eliminated. So where there used to be pickleball courts, there's now just lounge areas. And then this is a rendering of the old versus the new. The old plan, it's hard to tell the difference between these two renderings because they managed to fit everything into the same footprint. The left, obviously, is the tower. On the left-hand side of each graphic is the 14-story tower where the residential units and the hotel units are located. And then on the right, you have the new plan. The new plan actually has more glass. It's a little bit more transparent because they added more units. And so there is more transparency to it. So if I had to pick one thing that was a little different when I look at it, it's that it looks a little bit lighter. Simply because there's a little bit more glazing, in my opinion. And the architect's here, he can disagree with me, but I think he'll agree with me. Then this is the view facing north. So this is Birch State Park in the background. The 2024 approval had 76 units. The new approval, 2026 proposed, has 88 multifamily units and 113 hotel rooms. And you can see the average unit size that for instance, the multifamily units, the dwelling units, it used to have, the smallest unit was 1144 square feet. The biggest unit was a little over 2,000 square feet. Now the smallest unit is 523 square feet. And the biggest unit is 1,231 square feet. And then they have obviously the hotel rooms, and you have 1,800 square feet of commercial. And then we're all fitting it because we are requesting a parking reduction on just the residential. So we've parked to code the hotel and the commercial, even though who's going to drive to this commercial, I'm not really sure, because it's walking distance, meant to be a grab and go for the hotel. Regardless, we've parked it at per code. So the hotel and the commercial is parked per code. We are requesting that the residential be parked at 1.28 spaces per unit. And then this is just, again, a twilight rendering of the buildings. In the background, in this particular graphic, you can actually see the Sunrise East condominium a little bit better. That's at the cul-de-sac on the end of our street. And then this is a view facing east along Northeast 9th Court. So you could see the improvement, I think, with this plan. The landscaping is largely the same, but maybe we have better graphics this time to explain it. And then this is the view along Sunrise, and this is what I was talking about earlier. The view along Sunrise in the perspective is dramatically improved by adding that 1,800 square feet of commercial, and I think this is really kudos to staff because they really pushed us to open that up a lot more. And so the rendering that you see here on the right-hand side is the new one, and you can see what a dramatic improvement that is along Sunrise. The previous plan had no commercial, so it was kind of blocked off, whereas now you have some ground floor commercial. And that concludes our presentation. We did present this, or the Sunrise East is in support of the application, along with the other neighboring condominiums. We also presented this to the Central Beach Alliance in January, and they actually didn't even take a vote because they were in support of both projects that went through the cycle, and they said they're fine with it. So we have, largely a lot of support for the project. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the applicant at this time?
I do. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Ms. Scott.
I have some questions. How many units total are there going to be? Residential units?
88.
Okay. And how many parking spaces for the 88 residential units?
So for the 88 residential units, we're proposing 112.
Okay. So what does that come out to?
1.28 per unit.
Okay. So a two-bedroom, are these two-bedroom? I'm just trying to...
So they're one bedroom,
they're all-
two bedroom,
okay.
and there's one three bedroom. So there are smaller units. Some of them are even, they're smaller, much smaller
And
units.
how much guest parking do you have?
It's all baked into the statistic, the ratio.
And how many people are going to be working there?
It's a limited service hotel, so there's no meeting room space. There's no, restaurant per se. So I'm not sure if they know exactly how many employees they're going to be, but it is limited service. It's not like the W Hotel and something like that. So there won't be as many employees as you'll see at a resort type.
How many total of the spaces? Because I know they're all shared and they're valet. So how many? Is it over 200?
It's 200 spaces.
Okay. Alrighty. Thank you.
Mr. Delatorres?
Yes, if I drove from the west, I go over the bridge, and currently I didn't see an entrance to get to that site.
Yeah.
How is the street going to work
Okay.
for that grab and go?
So it's actually going to be mostly walk up, but we have parked it. So let me show you how people get into. This is the ground floor plan. So people will come from, if you're coming from Sunrise Boulevard, you would make a turn onto Birch Road. Let me go back. Birch Road, which
This way
is next to the 7-Eleven.
It's the way it is now, right? Mm-hmm. So nothing changes.
There was access on Sunrise, directly on Sunrise Boulevard. If you look hard, you probably drove by them, but there were curb cuts there. And FDOT will not allow us to have access there.
Right.
We approached FDOT about having some sort of cross access just so we could go through, and it was not allowed. And the reason for that is because it's too close to the intersection, obviously, and we have reasonable means of access from another street, which, as you know, whenever FDOT hears that, they're like, you got to use the other street. But aside from that, it's also the bridge is coming down in the middle of the site. So it's actually not really the ideal situation. So I can see why DOT denied that request.
That's not where I was going. I was going is that the grab and go is facing Sunrise, correct?
It's facing Sunrise.
So if I'm a pedestrian, I got to go out of my way.
No, actually, here, let me explain something to you, because I didn't explain this earlier. So let's say you live in Sunrise East, which is our neighbor immediately to the west. There is a 5-foot sidewalk that we're constructing that's kind of a cut through between our building and their parking garage ramp. So at the cul-de-sac, what you see there at the cul-de-sac, there is a 5-foot wide sidewalk that takes you straight to Sunrise Boulevard. So there's a little cut through. They don't have to walk all the way down to Birch and then turn left onto Birch and then left on Sunrise just to get to our place. They also could just cut through our motor court.
Well, I realize, look, if it's open to the public, if it's for the hotel, it's different. But I got to go out of my way to get there, right? It's not in a main thoroughfare because I can't access it from Sunrise.
But there are stairs. It's open to Sunrise Boulevard
From the bridge.
I don't know if this is going to work, but can you see this red dot? Or there you go. I know. It disappears on the screen. Okay. So right in front of where the yellow. Huh? Oh, thank you. That's a lot better. I wish I had this. Okay. You see this area here? So this is the grab and go where the yellow is. These are stairs that lead you up here. So if you're a pedestrian, you can access it from here. If you're coming from Northeast 9th Court, let's say you live in Sunrise East, you can either walk up here through our development, or you could just walk on the sidewalk that takes you along here. So it's actually accessible from quite a few directions.
Okay. Second question, I couldn't figure out the math. So originally, how many units were there in the last approval?
In the very last approval was 76.
76. And no hotel rooms?
No hotel rooms.
And how much parking?
154, I believe.
Okay. So now we're increasing the residences to 88.
Yes.
And now we have 200 parking spaces.
And the hotel.
Yeah, I was going there. And the hotel has how many keys?
113.
So if I take a 50% rule and say only 50% of people are coming in the hotel with cars, I'm somewhere around 50, 56, 55 cars that should be for the hotel?
If that's, I think it'd probably be less given this area, but we can go with that assumption.
And plus handicap, plus guests, plus workers. My math doesn't work. I don't understand how we can reduce the parking.
But
Unless you can explain it to me.
We're only reducing it for the residential portion. So the hotel and the commercial portion are parked per code. We're not requesting a reduction on that.
Maybe that's what I missed then. Okay.
Yeah.
So the commercial is going to be per code, but you're reducing the residential parking reduction, but you're increasing the residences.
Yes.
How does that make sense?
So they're smaller
you're still
because they're
gonna drive
smaller
there.
units.
But you said
and
you
in
had
an
2
urban
bedrooms
area.
and you had 2 bedrooms and 1 3-bedroom. So 3-bedroom doesn't really make a big difference, but in 2 bedrooms, you're going to assume that you got a roommate, you're going to have 2 people, right?
Yeah, but there's a lot more 1-bedrooms with this plan. So, and then the other thing that the developers were trying to be mindful of, the parking garage is 4 levels of parking. So the building to the west where the parking is with the rooftop amenity deck. If we added another floor to make up for the parking, you're talking about getting into conflict with views, and we were trying to be respectful and not really toy too much with the height of that garage. Because people, you know, they like their views, even though it's not something that's legally required or and they're legally entitled to. It's something that we were trying to be sensitive to.
No, I understand. But if you would have kept it at the units that were originally, you wouldn't need the parking reduction. Correct?
No, we would still need parking reduction.
I guess my concern is I've seen too many of these come about, and then we don't really think about. We think that we live in this society where it's carless, and it's not true. It's just not true. And then what happens is the overspill ends up in the neighborhood, and then it interferes with other people around it. So, you know, I don't understand the math. I think adding the hotel creates more of an impact to the cars. Obviously, adding more units adds more to the cars. The size of the unit, if it's a one bedroom, it's still a one bedroom. If it's a two bedroom, it's still a two bedroom. I mean, the size doesn't really matter here in square footage. What matters is how many occupants are going to be there and using cars. So, frankly, I just don't understand the parking reduction. Everything else I get. I just think the parking reduction is going to cause a bigger issue than you think.
So the parking reduction, and we have our traffic engineer here that can address any specific questions you may have on the basis for that 1.28. But the basis, and under the code, we're allowed to request a parking reduction on the residential component if we meet certain criteria. And one of those criteria is that there's an acceptable methodology that we used, and it's the ITE, as you're familiar with, the Institute of Transportation Engineers, which is the nationally recognized standard that all the transportation engineers follow. And what those studies revealed is that the 1.28 is a reasonable parking requirement for residential in this location, because this is more of an urban setting. If we were in, I don't want to pick a western city, but some other suburban city in Broward County, let's say, then maybe that wouldn't be an appropriate ratio. But because we are located where we are and everybody's walking a lot more, if you've driven by the site or are repeatedly driving by the site, you see a lot of people walking around. And so there is a justification for the 1.28 parking spaces per unit. Now, you may disagree with that. You may not like it, but that was the basis for it.
No, I understand.
Can I ask a question?
But a request is not an automatic approval, correct?
Yeah, I completely agree.
You have the right to request it.
Absolutely.
But we don't have the right to approve it necessarily, correct? So it's just a question because it is absolutely an issue that I just don't understand because, I mean, I'm sure your traffic study took in consideration. Obviously, it's going to be more traffic. Obvious, right? Now you have a hotel use, so there's more traffic. Obviously, you got more units. I mean, you don't have to be a traffic engineer to understand there's going to be more traffic. That's one thing, and that's okay. However, the impact to the parking is the same. You got approval the first time, and I think it was tight, but this time I see it overspilling to the neighborhood. It's not a big neighborhood. It's very constricted.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are these assigned parking or is this a shared parking?
It's shared. It's not going to be assigned.
Okay.
At least not to my knowledge.
I know that my single-family neighborhood is the closest neighborhood to this. I know that the other condominiums that are near our neighborhood are typically only 30 to 40% homesteaded, and that most of those residents are not there when they're out of season. And a lot of the buildings that do have shared have no issues with their parking. So that's what I want to know is whether or not it was shared, because in that case, Hector, we have found that at the beach with so many non-residences, we haven't had to overspill into neighborhoods. Just as an FYI.
Off season, I think that makes sense, but what we're talking about is on season.
Yeah, and as long as their hotel has more than enough and it's same shared, we haven't seen that issue.
So these parking spaces won't even be assigned. So if I want to go buy a 500 square foot unit, I don't have a parking space.
That's a question for the developer. I actually just wanted to make sure I characterize. It's a fully valet garage, so it's.
Oh, it's all valet.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Okay,
I don't know how you assign spaces in that situation. Yeah.
Chair, how many two bedrooms versus one bedrooms were there?
So let me give you the breakdown. There are 85, I'm sorry. 61 bedroom and 26 two bedroom.
Okay. Personally,
and then
I mean,
there's 2 3 bedroom.
most of the two bedrooms that I even see now, it's kind of a luxury to have two parking spots. So, and it's all valet either way.
Yes.
Any other questions or statements to the applicant? Okay. Thank you. We have a few members of the public that have signed up to speak. First will be what I believe is Walter Latimer. No? Do you not want to speak? Okay, sir. The next one, the last name, it's Peter Hetchenubble, and then I can't get the Ekana. You got to pronounce that for me. This is interesting.
Spell it.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Good evening. I'm Pete Heckenbleichner. I'm a resident of Sunrise East. I was the president of the board when the original agreement with the developer was negotiated, so I've been very involved in this project. I guess the main concern we have about the project is we want it built now. The developer's been very cooperative with us in terms of demolishing the buildings, which was a real blight in the community, fencing the area, modifying the fences as we requested. We've had a very good relationship with them. But we hope this is the last version of this and that we won't have to be back before this august board or the city commission again. In terms of the parking, just I was very quickly, as you were talking, running through my building. There are 2 people who live in my household. We have 1 vehicle, works very well because of where we are and what's around us. Right across the bridge is a Publix and all the stores associated with that. The Galleria Mall, what's left of it, is right across the bridge. We have restaurants within walking distance. We walk to the beach. So, and that's fairly typical. So in my tower, just very quickly going through it, in the 2-bedroom units, I can count 4 out of 15 that have 1 vehicle for a 2-bedroom unit. We only allow 1 vehicle for a 1-bedroom unit anyway. So just as a layperson, it seems to me that the parking that's proposed is probably adequate. People do walk a lot here. Actually, if you wanted to advocate for a connection from our lobby over to the new bridge that's being built at Sunrise Boulevard, that would be great. It's not going to happen because we can't afford it, but it would be a nice thing to have. The access through the property is very important to us, the pedestrian access. That restores to us where we all used to walk, which is through Franco and Vinny's parking lot, which is approximately where that circle is. We're very satisfied with that access. So, thank you.
I have a question for you. You live in the neighborhood, correct?
Yes.
So you're not concerned at all that some of the parking could spill over into the neighborhood and block you in any way? You have no issues with any of that in the future?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sherry Johnson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here to represent the Board of Directors at Sunrise East, and I'm also a resident there, obviously, and just can't tell you how excited we are to get, as Pete said, this project going and finished. What we had in the past was, other than Vinny's Pizza Place, which we all missed tremendously, but what we had in the past was pretty decrepit. And when the demolition was done, that was a fantastic relief for all of us. It's not as beautiful as it could be and will be, but it's so much better than it was before. We're looking forward to sidewalks. I mean, Northeast Ninth Court right now has no sidewalks. When we walk to the beach or down Northeast Ninth Court, we're taking our life in our own hands with traffic and that sort of thing. So we're very looking forward to the sidewalks. The landscaping is going to beautify our area so much because right now we're trying to do our own landscaping in our condominium complex, but it's going to be so wonderful when we have trees and flowers and shrubs growing along the street. We think the buildings are beautiful. They're going to be so wonderful to look at compared to what we have now and what we had in the past. And as Pete said, we are not worried about the parking. We actually think that the traffic will be less versus more because most people are Ubering to the hotels down in this area. I mean, hardly anybody wants to pay the rates at the hotels that they charge for parking. So very few people are doing that. And so we're very excited, looking forward to having it done, and hope you all will vote to approve this next iteration. And good luck to you.
Thank you. Mr. Donaldson, do you have a question or?
I was going to make a motion.
Okay. Let me ask, are there any other members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Okay. Seeing none, I close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for discussion and a motion.
I would like to make a motion to recommend approval of case number UDP-S25049, a site level plan level 4 review. And I move to recommend approval based upon the following findings of fact, the facts of the city staff report, and the testimony heard by our board this evening, and hereby finds that the application meets the applicable criteria of the ULDR cited in the staff report, and any conditions are to be part of the application are subject to the conditions of the staff report.
I second.
Oh, Mr. Gannon got you.
Mr. De La Torres,
Yes.
Mr. Spence,
Yes.
Mr. Dutton,
Yes.
Mr. Buckley,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Gannon,
Yes.
Mr. Donaldson,
Yes.
Chair Matee.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. Next case number 4, UDP Z26001, disclosures. Mr. De La Torres.
No.
Mr. Spence.
I was contacted by the attorney.
Ms. Scott.
Yes, I spoke to the applicant's attorney.
Mr. Donaldson.
I did a site visit, and I also spoke to the applicant's attorney.
Mr. Dutton.
Getting caught up on which one we're at.
Number 4. Which is, oh, no problem. Mr. Buckley, any disclosures?
None.
Mr. Gannon.
Site visit and spoke to applicant's attorney.
Okay, I spoke with the applicant's attorney and did a site visit. Mr. Here. Number 4. If that helps you.
Yeah, I got a blank screen on my
Does that-
iPad. Yeah, let me see.
Number 4. Just have a quick gander.
Okay.
One moment, I'm just waiting. for
Oh, yes, this is a site visit.
Okay. Any speaking with the applicant's counsel or anything?
No.
Okay.
And I did, in the same conversation about the previous application, spoke to the applicant's attorney.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Okay. Nectaria Chakis again, with the firm Lockery & Chakis on behalf of the applicant, Pinnacle Corporate Park. This is a site that's, we're requesting a rezoning. This is in the Uptown Urban Village area, so this is in the new transit-oriented development district that the city established last year, I believe it was. Time flies. Anyway, it was last year. You all adopted a land use plan amendment and created this new transit-oriented development district. This is a zoning district that is actually tailored for that transit-oriented district. Currently, the site has 2 office buildings on it, but a lot of surface parking, and the Tri-Rail station happens to be right next door, so it makes sense to have some residential on the property. So the proposal is to rezone the property to an Uptown Urban Village district in anticipation of the city adopting the new regulations to allow residential in this area. And once that's done, we do have a site plan pending that will add some residential to the site. And this zoning district is consistent. We're designing the plan to this particular zoning district. And this is something that's been done on a number of the other properties that have been redeveloped in the uptown area. We rezone the properties to one of the mixed-use categories that facilitates the uptown district, and then the site plan is processed and approved under those regulations. And so this is in furtherance of those goals and objectives of the transit-oriented development. And we respectfully request your approval, a recommendation of approval this evening. The code amendment will probably be coming to you next month, I was told, to allow residential in this particular zoning district in this area. So we'll see you next month again.
Very good. Any questions for the applicant, Mr. Buckley? Is that, no, just anyone have any questions? Okay. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, I close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for discussion and a motion.
I think it's
Ms.
exciting
Scott.
that this Uptown Urban Village is happening. I remember approving this, I think, in 2022, Jim, right? And you were like Mr. Hetzel was the big man that made
I mean,
this
for me, it
happen.
started in 2014.
Oh, okay, sorry. So I guess with that in mind, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Motion to recommend approval. I move to recommend approval of case number UUV-SE.
No.
Nope, hold on.
UDP.
I'm there. UDP-Z26001, based on the following findings of fact. The facts in the city staff report are based on the testimony heard by the applicant, and the board hereby finds that the application meets the applicable criteria of the ULDR cited in the staff report.
Second.
By Mr. Buckley.
Mr. Dela Torres,
Yes.
Mr. Spence,
Yes.
Mr. Dutton,
Yes.
Mr. Buckley,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Gannon,
Yes.
Mr. Donaldson,
Yes.
Chairman T.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Case number 5, UDP S25052. Disclosures, Mr. Dela Torres.
None.
Mr. Spence.
Yes, I was emailed by the attorney.
Ms. Scott.
None that I know of.
Mr. Donaldson.
I did a site visit and I read an email from the applicant's attorney.
Mr. Dutton.
Communicated with the applicant's attorney.
Mr. Buckley.
Communicated with the applicant's attorney.
Mr. Gannon.
Site visit and email from applicant's attorney.
I did a site visit and I received the email from applicant's attorney. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Heidi Davis with the law firm of Gunster here tonight on behalf of University Hospital Limited, who is the contract purchaser of the property located at 2050 Northwest 62nd Street, which is Cypress Creek Road, who is proposing to develop a freestanding emergency room on the property. With me tonight is I have a development team here, as well as Corey Mead, the CEO, and Amit Parmar, the COO of HCA Florida Woodmont Hospital, who will have this facility as part of their operations. The property is located south of Cypress Creek Road, adjacent to the Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport, but it's not owned by the airport. The property is a vacant 2.17 acre parcel, which is zoned General Aviation Airport District, and the land use designation is Employment Center. The proposed use of the property is a freestanding emergency room. The facility is a standalone emergency room supported by emergency room physicians, registered nurses, imaging technicians, and other medical professionals. The facility will be approximately 11,000 square feet with 11 treatment rooms and on-site imaging, including x-rays and CT scans. These freestanding emergency rooms are designed to alleviate the wait times at hospital emergency rooms and are not heavy traffic generators. Typically, only 1 to 2 ambulances come to the facility per day. kind of cut off. I don't know why it's cut off, but that's weird. So just this slide just shows thank you, shows the differences between what a freestanding emergency room is, an urgent care facility, and acute care hospital. So the difference, basically, the freestanding emergency room will have physicians on staff 24 hours, 7 days a week, unlike urgent care facilities, which are typically staffed by physician's assistants. Freestanding emergency rooms are equipped with imaging and laboratory resources needed to diagnose and deliver care for severe and life-threatening situations. Urgent care facilities treat illnesses and minor injuries and provide basic laboratory services. Acute care hospitals can treat all types of patients and can admit, stabilize, and treat patients overnight at the existing locations. There are no overnight stays at these these freestanding emergency rooms, and if needed for an overnight, the patient will be transported to the hospital. So we are here tonight to request the approval of a freestanding emergency room, which is not a specifically listed permitted use in the general aviation airport zoning district. Section 4714.10 of the code lists the permitted uses within the GAA district. However, there's a subsection D that provides that permitted, conditional, or accessory uses which are not specifically listed may be permitted if approved by the Planning and Zoning Board, which is why we're here tonight, if the board determines that, 1, the use is consistent with the permitted uses of the future land use designation of employment center, and 2, if the use will not adversely impact the airport. So both of those criteria are satisfied. The employment center land use designation permits uses including offices, businesses, service uses, and community facilities, which include hospitals and health clinics. The freestanding emergency room as a service and community facility use is consistent with these employment center uses. Additionally, the Airport Advisory Board reviewed the use and voted unanimously to approve this freestanding emergency room and determined that the use would not adversely impact the airport. The airport director's letter should be in your backup. Oop, I went too fast here. The site plan includes an 11,000 square foot structure at a height of 30 feet. 73 parking spaces are required and 73 parking spaces are provided. The access is from Cypress Creek Road, and there is safe vehicular and pedestrian access throughout the property. Large landscape buffers are provided around the entire property, and the building's design incorporates separate ambulance and patient walk-in entrances. This shows that the separate ambulance entrance, and this is the patient walk-in. Additionally, there are no residential uses in proximity of this facility. We held a public participation meeting and mailed the required notices to the property owners within the 300 feet, but we also invited the closest homeowners association, which is Palm Air Village East. They are located 1,900 feet from the property. We sent them a courtesy notice of the meeting, but nobody attended. Just a little information about HCA Florida. They're one of the nation's leading healthcare systems and the largest network of medical professionals and care sites in the state of Florida. The network consists of hospitals, trauma centers, freestanding emergency rooms, and MD Now urgent care facilities, and have over 84,000 colleagues that work for the company to help bring comprehensive, high-quality care to the state of Florida. And in conclusion, the freestanding emergency room is consistent with the uses permitted within the employment center, land use designation, and the use will not adversely impact the airport. We agree with staff's findings and respectfully request your approval this evening. If you have any question, we have our development team here to answer any of those. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have a question.
Mr. Donaldson.
if somebody is requiring an overnight stay, what kind of determination will be made as to which hospital they are then transported to? Is there a in advance agreement with another hospital, or is it up to the patient's request, et cetera? So that's my question.
Yes,
Yes,
we do.
please.
I'm going to have Corey Mead, who's our CEO, come up and address that. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Corey Mead, CEO of HC Florida Woodmont. It always comes down to patient choice and patient request if it is not a life-threatening or emergent situation, specifically time-critical diagnoses like a heart attack, trauma, or a stroke. And so if it were any of those, it would go to the closest receiving facility that is certified in the EMS routing criteria. Sorry?
Broward North.
No, so trauma would go to North. Holy Cross is about 4 miles east. FMC is about 5 miles south, and we are 6 miles west. And all of those, depending on traffic, is about 14 to 20 minutes. And if they want to come to us, they can come to us if it's a regular inpatient or observation unit stay. But any of those higher level of acuity that any of those hospitals are not certified for, we would go to those specific hospitals that are certified.
So, from a public service perspective, you will only be seeing private patients. If an indigent patient comes with a laceration that's not life-threatening, you'll be referring them probably instead of taking care of them.
That is actually incorrect.
Okay.
We're the largest provider of indigent or charity care in the entire state of Florida. Per federal law, CMS guidelines, EMTALA is the federal law that is in play there. You have to treat anybody that comes to your campus equally, regardless of payer.
So it just doesn't matter about the severity, they get treated. If they need stitches,
Absolutely.
they get stitches.
Yes, if they need an inpatient stay, they get an inpatient stay, whether they're able to pay or
But
not.
you're not going to do inpatient.
We would transfer if they did need inpatient.
Okay,
if
gotcha,
they show up,
gotcha. I see.
how to think of this from a lay or public perspective, we have 23 ER bays on campus. This would be adding 11 more from a state licensure and operational perspective. We would then have 34 from a regulatory perspective. And those patients that walk in on our campus in Tamarack or walk into this campus here are treated the exact same.
So you basically have an ER. It's going to be a minor ER from a standpoint of they're not bringing trauma there, even though you have a trauma room. It probably means laceration room.
Probably.
Okay.
EMS
Good.
would not bring us trauma, but that
Correct.
doesn't mean there's not an accident on Cypress Creek and they're not walking in, or there's a burn at the
Yeah.
airport and they're not walking next door,
Right.
and then we would transfer accordingly.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be good. I mean, it sounds like a great public service because of the area. I mean, Broward Health is 10 miles north, and good. I wish you all the luck.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions for the applicant or council? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, I close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for discussion and a motion and a vote.
I'd
make a motion to approve.
So board members, in addition to the script as stated by Council Davis, this requires also a finding from the board that the use is a permissible use within the employment center land use category. So if you would tack that on to your approval, if you're moving for approval of the site plan level 3, I'd appreciate that.
I mean, I can make a motion to approve. I would. So let me pass me the script there, and just let me know where the add-on is. I mean, yeah,
sure.
So this is item 5, and we are doing a conditional use application. I move to adopt the resolution approving a condition.
A site plan level 3 approval.
Oh, it is the site plan level 3. Okay. I move to adopt the resolution approving a site plan level 3 case number UDP S25052 based on the following findings of fact And the board hereby finds that the application meets the standards and requirements in the ODR and criteria for proposed use as cited in the resolution.
And does the board also find that the freestanding emergency room use is consistent with the permitted uses of the Employment Center future land use designation of the Fort Lauderdale Comprehensive Plan?
Yes.
Very good. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Scott.
A resolution of the Planning and Zoning Board of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, approving a site plan level 3 development permit and permissible use determination for a 11,000 square foot medical clinic space for the property located at 2050 Northwest 62nd Street, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in the Employment Center future land use designation and General Aviation Airport GAA zoning district, case number UDP-S250252, providing for conflicts, providing for severabilities, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Ready.
Mr. Delatorres?
Yes.
Mr. Spence?
Yes.
Mr. Dutton?
Yes.
Mr. Buckley?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Gannon?
Yes.
Mr. Donaldson?
Yes.
Chairman Teague?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Good luck.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the communication to the City Commission. We do have staff that wanted to let us know about a new program or policy.
Yes, good evening, board, chairman, board members. There's a policy that went into place pretty recently. We're doing internal corrections and processes for ourselves as staff, but also what part of it includes the board members when you all make a communication to the City Commission that the request is one of the board members attend the conference meeting where the communication is being discussed. This way, you all can have a representative, whether it's more than one or the chair, whoever you end up deciding to go at the time the communication is at the commission, provide and elaborate what the discussion was. So I just wanted to share that moving forward. All the quasi-judicial boards will be doing that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
I've watched some of the commission meetings, and they mentioned that they were a little befuddled, a little bit had questions, and there was no one there. So it makes good sense.
I volunteered Jacqueline to all that.
Yep.
You have to go to all the commission meetings for all communications. Yeah.
Did you want to?
Are you serious?
So when do we make that determination?
I suggest when the communication is made and
we'll
voted
be able
on.
to look at our calendar and then identify who's available at that point.
So sometimes that date gets a little tricky when we get back the results. So we send the communication as soon as it happens the next day, and then what commission meeting you get on can depend on when we get the minutes of the planning and zoning board meeting. So there could be some follow-up by the chair or the liaison and the chair or the board, and I would, whoever ends up deciding they want to go. But if you need a backup because you don't know the date, we can work on that as well.
Yeah, that's smart.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Can we do for good of the city?
That's the next thing. Yep. So we'll go for the good of the city. Ms. Scott, what do you got?
I guess there's been discussion in the past about the development community and how they communicate to a neighborhood. I know that code basically says they have to notify people within 300 feet. And I know oftentimes what I find as a neighborhood president is the development community does their 300 feet, and then they depend on the neighborhood association to take it a step further. I don't appreciate that, okay? I think that we need to talk about expanding the area in which a developer has to notify the recognized neighborhood in the area, not just have a neighborhood meeting in 300 feet. Because I didn't become president of the association to work for the developer or the city. I'm doing this, what I do is for my neighborhood. So with that being said, I wanted to see if there's any other opinions.
Well, I happen to also, to follow up on that, you're bringing up a good point, Jackie. I happen to also be a neighborhood president, and I know Steve Gannon is a neighborhood president. One of the things that I was thinking was, and I'm tossing it out there as an idea, the code requires that within 300 feet, so that's a given. Then it also requires any recognized neighborhoods to be notified. But I would like to take that definition a little further. And instead of just notifying the president, who happens to be the one in the recognized neighborhood list on the city website, I think since the city knows the boundaries of that neighborhood, because all of our neighborhoods to be recognized have a boundary, I think that all properties within that neighborhood, recognized neighborhood, should be mailed. So that if a president is ill or on vacation or something and misses an email or a mailbox or whatever, that the onus isn't on one person. That the developer, if my neighborhood is or Jackie's or whoever's neighborhood is the neighborhood that is required in the code to be notified, then we should change that to all properties within that recognized neighborhood has to be notified. And then it takes the onus away from the board or whoever goes to the post office box or whoever, and everyone should be then notified within that neighborhood. That would be my suggestion, and I'm looking for feedback.
My thoughts, just not knowing, but I think the two neighborhoods, I'm not sure about the size of yours, but how do you do it when it goes into something like Coral Ridge?
1,200, 1,400, that's a lot.
You know what I mean? Like some of these are very big neighborhoods where it becomes kind of like the whole thing, or do you draw the line? Whereas some of the smaller ones, help me. Help
well,
us.
if you look at most neighborhoods, you look at different sections that have a different plat name, right? Like Coley-Hammock is easy, but you look at like Victoria Park, you've got 3 or 4 different, is it plat names, I would say, of that neighborhood. So if you limited to that, that might make it easier. But, quite frankly, I don't work for the development community. So I just want the communication.
Or 150. If it's a project, I mean, the neighborhood should be notified, is my opinion, to start with. Otherwise, you're going to get into finger pointing. Well, we mailed it to that street, but we didn't mail it to that street because that street had a different, if the neighborhood is a recognized neighborhood, and there's not that many projects that have a recognized neighborhood next to it, that everyone, I don't know. Steve, what is your filing on it?
What I've found is my neighborhood has about 120 homes, but not everyone participates either, and I don't even have all the information on how to contact them. I'd have to go to Broward County sometimes and get the mailers, and I don't even know who I'm talking to. Sometimes some of them are in Czechoslovakia. We got people from all over the place. So it's difficult for a president to get it out there. It's going to be difficult for the developer as well. But again,
but they have the address.
They have the address and they can find it, and it's their job. So I lean towards that, putting the onus more on the developer.
Whether it's 1,200 or 100,
is your mic on?
The piece of mail is $1 to $2 per. I mean, it's not like a $5,000-$10,000 investment. We're talking, in the grand scheme of a development, I think that's.
Well, that's a good point, Jim. Is the rule of the 300 feet, is that strictly for associations, or is that for all residences within 300 feet?
So there's 2 aspects I think I need clarification on. There's public participation meeting notification requirements, which is applicants' responsibility to notify about a meeting, that's on them to hold a meeting prior to Planning and Zoning Board 30 days before minimum. There's also the mailing that tied to the notification tied to the Planning and Zoning Board meeting itself. So there's 2 different aspects going on there. Both of them, when the mail notification distance are the same, 300 feet. So there's those 2 aspects. And that 300 feet has a history of how the state statutes talk about rezonings, for instance. It's a standard that's pretty much used throughout the entire county, I know for sure, because my old job, we had the same distance requirement. And I just want to remind the board, too, we had a communication sent to the commission about this regarding distance notification requirements based on a project of a large size. You might all remember it's about 40 acres. And staff is analyzing that, took it to the commission. We were told to analyze it and do research to come back with some recommendations. And some of that can include what you're talking about today once we look at some of the research that we find.
I think, I want to make sure, the reason I wanted to bring it up, Jim, is I wanted you all to know, is it a consensus of the board to expand that so you've got more information? And I believe my recollection now about that super site, the discussion was there was several neighborhoods surrounding it, but they didn't have to mail to all of them. And that's what that discussion was about, if I remember correctly.
So that was about neighborhoods that were not within the city, so they weren't on the recognized neighborhood list per code.
Yeah,
That's
and
why
that whole thing about not being a neighborhood recognized list is like, really? I mean, they still pay property taxes and they live there.
So we have to do mail notices to properties that are outside the city. That's a requirement. There's people within 300 feet. That doesn't matter whether it's in the city or not. It's the recognized neighborhood association, the language the way it is.
So if I can shed some light on it, so you do have your legal requirement, which is to notice nearby property owners of a application for a quasi-judicial matter. The intent behind that is to notify individuals that may be affected by the development, and legally that's known or generally understood to be 300 feet of that project, and that's what most municipalities have as the mail notification, the direct mail notification to surrounding property owners within 300 feet. The city of Fort Lauderdale traditionally has had a heightened desire to notify members of the public of these items, and we've put in our code requirements for these public participation meetings where we require the developer to reach out to the community. And as you have stated, that notice also goes to those property owners within 300 feet, but also extends to the recognized neighborhood associations, which our code presently says you notify the president of the association, and hope that the structure of the recognized association identifies the members and notifies the members of this meeting that will take place. I think the structure of having the recognized associations be the vehicle is just to ensure that you actually capture people that are within the association, because Fort Lauderdale really doesn't have very well-defined, except for the recognized homeowners associations, well-defined HOAs like certain newer communities with planned developments and so forth. So as Jim said, we can continue to kind of look at this, and we hear the comments that you've mentioned in terms of broadening the ability and the notice, and we can look at the best practices in the state. But I do want to note that, this home rule thing is part of what the legislature is attacking in terms of reducing the powers of local governments to regulate, and reducing a lot of these approvals to just administrative approvals as a pushback to what developers, and probably not in this part of the state and other parts of the state, are complaining about as too onerous and burdensome regulations. They just want us to be mindful of that trend in Tallahassee.
I'm still not clear though, but as a developer, when we send out mailers, it does, within 300 feet, it goes to every single property address that is in that district, correct?
Correct.
It just doesn't go to the association.
For notice of this meeting, yes.
Yeah. Notice of this meeting. Got it. So the association is like another layer just to make sure that the president and the association knows what's going on, so they can ensure the unit owners got there. But it goes to everybody, every single. I know I spent $6,000 or $7,000. I know that, and it's when you think about the cost of a stamp, that's a lot of people. So I'm just trying to figure out.
No, it's 300 feet. With
No. But at 300 feet, there could be. Listen, I do this all the time. There could be thousands and thousands of units that I have to notify within 300 feet.
If there's
that's what I'm clarifying.
Maybe if you got condos, but it is frustrating to be a neighborhood president and them thinking I'm responsible to tell everybody everything.
Well, but the developer is only following the law. If the address says units, we do that. But I'm still not clear. Now I'm more confused than I was before.
The plat size. But you're talking about 1,000 within 300 feet.
Yes.
We're talking about recognized neighborhoods. Neighborhoods are single-family homes. They're not condos.
I'm not talking about condos or single family. I'm talking about anything that's there and it has an address.
And you get it within the address. But what we're
Correct.
saying is our code also requires to recognize neighborhoods. And there's
Correct.
only, I think, 21 or 27. It's a finite number of recognized neighborhoods.
And most of those are HOAs.
Yeah,
And that's why that's what I'm saying. That's
They're
why
not
the law, the
HOA.
way I understood it,
But we're
was
not-
to make sure that there was an overlay that those neighborhoods weren't missed.
Yeah, but what we're saying is that is not thousands, because within 300 feet there would never be more
6 houses.
than 6 houses, because our lots, a minimum building lot is 50 by 125.
Right.
So for 300 feet, so it's not thousands of people being notified. What we're saying is when the particular times, few times, not every time is there a recognized neighborhood is part of this application, okay? So when there is a recognized neighborhood, that we need to have more than the onus only on notifying the neighborhood president, which then has to notify the members. So that's what we're asking.
Not everybody in the neighborhood's a member.
So if I can ask a question with regards to that,
Yeah.
do the recognized civic associations can maintain a membership role, or is it expected that the developer just identify the boundaries that the recognized civic association suggests they represent
That's
and mail to
public.
everyone in that boundary?
That's public, because we don't share with anyone, including city, our membership roles. Because my neighbors, for example, we only do blind CC emails, even if it's coming from the mayor. I then send it as a blind CC, because my members do not want their email addresses sold or whatever. So we do that. But the city already has, as part of their neighborhood recognition application, the parameters of the boundary of your neighborhood. So developer, if they get my name or Jackie's name or Steve's name, it says what neighborhood we're the president, and it shows our boundaries. So if you have the boundaries of my neighborhood, which is A1A and State Park and this street and that street, they could then very well populate a mailer for that one time that I happen to be close enough to get the neighborhood recognition.
So we've
kick in.
also had cases within the 300 feet. Now, not to confuse the situation, but just out of curiosity, under the 300 feet notice, where an individual show up and say they weren't notified, would it be your position then that if a developer, if we go to the system and the developer notifies everyone within a recognized civic association list, that in your book it would be a disqualifying situation if one property owner within that area suggests that they weren't notified?
I would think that if they could show that they have mailed out 100 and however many you have, and they have 120 in his neighborhood, and we have 144 lots in my neighborhood, and they say that they mailed 144, if somebody didn't open their mail and they say they didn't get notified, well, we're sorry, but they were mailed. No different than the person that's in front of 300 feet.
But
I mean, it's the same
I
thing.
think the onus is on the developer to do the mail out. I mean, look.
But we do.
anybody-
That's why I'm confused.
So all we have to do, it's not that easy, not that difficult. Real estate brokers do it all the time. You go to bcpa.net, you copy down everything. The developer then comes back and says, this is the list we mailed to. So I don't think it's that difficult.
No, what I'm saying is I've seen where a developer gives you the affidavit and it said, well, and then an individual shows up and says, well, I've never been, I didn't get to know
We recently had a case, though, Dwayne. We recently had a case. I don't remember who the lobbyist was. It might have been Stephanie, I'm not sure. But there was actually a list of every person. I know which one.
They
it was
all
that
provide.
Huh?
They all provide
applicants
a
have to
list.
provide a.
But they showed that it was like the chronological list of everybody
Yes.
that was mailed to.
Yes,
Okay, so I do
You're
understand.
always-
So the current
You're always
system.
going to have somebody show up that says they didn't get notified. Even if I put the email in front of them or paste it on their front door, I'm going to have somebody that says, you didn't notify me.
So,
come on.
so I understand. So what we're asking,
talk
the
for
current system, the notice, particularly for the public participation meeting, only requires one representative of the recognized civic association to be notified of these meetings. And what you're asking is that we broaden it to every home that is within the recognized boundary of that. That's right. And so, well,
you just hit the confusion right on the head. Okay, so let's stick with that for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So around where I'm developing downtown, right on the river, there is, 50 high rises. Each high rise has 300 people.
That's not a recognized neighborhood.
But it's within 300 feet.
May I just jump in for a second? I wanted to bring that up that some
With 300
neighborhoods,
feet?
like Downtown Civic Association, includes all the ownership within the boundaries of that recognized association. Central Beach Alliance is the same way because it's the whole entire recognized civic association. Any property owner within there would be thousands of
We're talking
corrections.
about single-family neighborhoods.
No,
So-
I don't make that distinction. It's 300
Yeah.
feet, whatever the address
Maybe
is.
there's a way, Jim, maybe there's a way of dividing the downtown civic.
So that's not typical
versus-
practice
No.
to separate out type based on notifications based on type of use, like a single family versus a
Correct.
condo. That could be a problem with doing our proper outreach with state law and equal notification requirements and so forth. But maybe what we need to do is look at just distance requirements, period, whether it touches a neighborhood or not, and not include the whole neighborhood ownership, but what is within 1,000 feet. So then you increase the distance. The HOA still gets notified like it is now, but those residents or owners that are within 1,000 feet of the subject property get notified. That might be something we look at. So far, our preliminary research we have not come across anything more than 500 feet from the site within any city in Broward County.
I like the 1,000. I can definitely think that would be a step in the right direction. And obviously, you need to be consistent, as you just said. So I would love to see that expansion.
So my recommendation is that staff finish doing the research that from the last communication, and we can get back to you on what we're finding.
Jackie, for the record, I agree with you. I think we need to expand to 300 feet. I just wasn't agreeing with you that the developer was not doing that. We're doing that. And in my case, I do it to every unit owner in the association plus the president. So when 300 feet and I'm in the downtown core, yeah, this could be 1,000 people. That could be 1,000 people that I'm doing. So, but I do agree that sometimes the impact, for example, my project has 5 towers. The impact of mine is beyond the 300 feet. So I'm agreeing with you. I just didn't agree that it's strictly the single-family homes. It's not single-family homes. There's a lot of stuff here that happens in like to the point that you brought up. It doesn't matter if it's $1,000 or $2,000. It's pennies. The key is the way the rules are set. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just the president, his responsibility to give it to all the unit owners. That's not what I've done. I go to the unit owners, address 300 Southeast 3rd Avenue, and then Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4, Unit 5. That's why it's so much.
But that's where the disclosure issue is that an HOA and a condo board has a very regulated formula on how they hold everybody. When you have civic associations like River Oaks, Croissant Park, it's extremely disorganized, very voluntary of who goes, what information they collect, and there's 700 single-family homes within that. It's different than having a condo with 34 stories, everybody's regular, there's meetings on the regular, very well attended. When you're in these single-family home communities, you don't get disclosure at all for some of these HOAs, and they're not HOAs, they're voluntary civic associations.
Well,
Most of them are.
they're volunteer HOAs.
Yeah.
Well, civic.
But I mean, yeah, it's a non-mandatory. But the condos are all mandatory, so they're all very much more engaged.
They have the emails and everything. I believe, did you have something that you wanted to say? Do we want to let the member of the public speak on this item?
She's a president.
Yeah. I'm just asking. It's not a given. And then how much time would you like to give her?
Okay, give her 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Very good. Please state your name and just let us know. And if you'd like to speak, ma'am, in the back. Okay.
Hi, my name is Kristen LaFleur. I am president of the Beverly Heights Association. Thank you for
Push the button.
The button right in front of you.
Oh, I totally forgot. Oh, this is fancy.
Yes.
Hi. Okay, I'm Kristen LaFleur. I'm president of the Beverly Heights Association. Thank you so much. It's rather fortuitous that I'm even here tonight because I haven't really sat through one of your full meetings before. So that's why me and a few of my companions came to just see how you all work. Beverly Heights is a very small neighborhood. We have lots of, I lose track sometimes, maybe 6 construction projects in our little postage stamp size neighborhood. So I deal with this a lot with getting information, and I am a volunteer. We are one of those. We are not an HOA. We are a neighborhood association. We are a group of concerned citizens who want to be involved in what we do. We recently had a situation where we did have a public participation meeting. There was some mailings that went out. My neighbor got one. I did not. Now, I did get it directly from the developer or from their attorney because, she communicated with me. But there is some spottiness. So I would say that I definitely would think that especially for P&Z meetings, even public participation, that folks, the developers should be reaching out to the neighbors within 300 feet, whatever distance you decide. But that also I would like to ask that first of all, that there be some more than an affidavit that it went out. Because as I said, in this situation, my neighbor came up to me and said, I got this in the mail, and I never got anything in the mail. Also, that it have a standard look or feel to the actual mailing. Because I have seen these things sometimes that just kind of look like they could just be a flyer that I think people just assume is junk mail, and that it have some notification on the envelope that it is a land use notification or a public meeting notification or something that looks important that people will actually open and know about. So, but I could not, I think everyone has probably heard me complain about this often. So thank you for bringing this up. Did I throw mine away? No, I did not. No, because I would have known what it looked like. Because I had seen it, because someone told me they got it and I saw a picture. I'm like, I didn't get that in the mail. So. Anyways,
Thank you.
But thank you all so much, and I do appreciate all of your time and effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am, you had your hand up in the back. You have to come forward and announce yourself and speak on the mic. Take your time. No problem. Take your time.
I got to tell you, these guys had no idea I was going to bring this up.
I bet they're going out for dinner with you.
Swear me in. D-Wayne, swear me in. I swear to God.
Name and
I swear to you. I swear.
Push that. It's a red button just in the middle of that black box.
Bottom front of it. Hi, my name is Leslie Mitchell-Jones, and I'm secretary of the Beverly Heights Association. And the three of us back there worked very, very hard. We did not have really an association before. It was in name, but there were not a lot of people. And we did have an incident about 2 years ago. And the way that you work now failed us in two ways. Number one, I agree with Kristen. I'm 20 feet away from the project. I'm also the head of my HOA association. Nobody in my association, the 8 homes, got townhouses, got nothing. The other person on the side of me did, and almost threw it out because didn't know what it was. That's how I found out. The other people on our street, I think there was one other, and Beverly Heights is small. We only have like 4 streets, that's it, that go on both sides of the Himmershey Canal. There has to be a way of really knowing what goes out. They can certify that they go out, but we didn't get anything, nothing. Our association at that time, president of the association never called anybody, said nothing. We banded together so fast, we had like, I think, a week to find everything out and to come. So I think it's important when some of these big projects are coming, and this is a big project for us, you have to let those areas know. I think maybe in the 2 streets where we are, there may be 37 homes. That doesn't take much for a developer to really contact properly. And the associations, even with Beverly Heights, we're trying to get members. Everybody doesn't come to these meetings. We try. Ms. Scott knows. She has an association too. You put it out there, you want them to come. We started out with maybe 10 people, and now we've got 60. So in a short period of time, we're growing.
Right.
People are interested. And we've worked with the city here with planning and zoning. They've been very good. They've educated us, but we're volunteers. So if you can tighten up these rules, not make it difficult for developers. We understand, and development is good. We're not against development, but we want to make sure that our residential areas, and we're historic in Beverly Heights, stay intact.
Thank you.
And if you're going to put things, make it so that it fits in with the environment.
I got a quick question for you. In your neighborhood, did you see on a corner or many corners like this billboard that said public notice?
No.
None of that?
Nothing.
Yeah,
this came out of the blue.
I think, Jim, you're picking on us that we make us do that nowhere else. Because usually there's a public notice sign that you make us put outside as well.
There is a sign requirement.
Thank
I
you.
think the case that's
Thank
being
you.
referenced is for next month. So the
You know
applicant
what?
will have to post signs at that time.
You know what happens if those signs get blown over or knocked over? No, but listen. No, I know it's signed, but I mean, sometimes when I've gone and visited a site, I'm thinking, where is their notice? But they take a picture, they bring their application. If it gets blown over, it gets blown over. I have one thing I have to say, and then I'll stop this. Would you raise your right hand and swear to God this was not planned? Exactly. Thank you.
Sometimes those political signs disappear too.
Yeah, true.
All right. So that's good. All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn? So moved. All right.
Working. The total project cost? $58,239.
When I came out to this project to come out and do my initial inspection with Patty, I realized there was a large need